Hey everybody, tonight it is a fresh old Tuesday night. Thank you for joining us. It's Casey with Pinecase. Tonight I got a friend of mine, Daz Exotic, and he's kicking it the day after his birthday, so happy birthday, darling.
Thank you. What's up? What's up? What's up? How you doing?
You know, I'm not bad. I've been spoiled a lot lately, so I have no room to complain. Everyone come out for your birthday, treat you really nice, all that good stuff.
You've been spoiled. What does that mean? Explain. You can't just let that slide now.
Oh man, I feel spoiled. So whenever, like people do extra things for me, I always feel spoiled, right? Like when they extend like an olive branch
What
or
kind? What kind of extra things? Let me know.
all right, listen, this lady Charlie, she came through with her company. So the soft launch yesterday at Nurtured Minds. She's got this retreat. It's out in the trees. It's gorgeous. You like roll up onto her property, hang out, kind of collect ourselves as a group. And then we rolled into like the most beautiful, mindful yoga in the trees. We did this nature walk. She guided us through with like these expectations that we needed for our day, right? So as a mom, to me, like that's massive. As an individual, that's massive because we're always kind of setting ourselves up. We're like writing lists, doing all this stuff. So to like shut all of that down for a little while and just adhere to what her expectation was for the day was so refreshing.
Well, and you know what? That leads me to like I want to say out the gate,
Mm.
right? Out the gate. I need way more therapy, you know what I'm saying, than I've had in my life. You
Right.
know, but sincerely and genuinely I do. And I think that's like what sets my perspective in a different place, I think, than other people's, is because a lot of the people, they've done years of therapy, whether it was forced through the court, whatever, like
Right, yeah, because some of that we don't ask for, right? Like some of that's brought to us, like in all sorts of ways. So yeah, I hear you there.
by the decisions, you know, that were made. And just also what makes my perspective different is because it's not addiction related.
Right.
It's interesting. Well, and this goes back to the jump. I don't know where to throw this in, but like
Whatever you want.
I saw my uncles get drunk early,
Oh, okay.
and
So
they were never that bad,
right.
but they were wild. But
Mm,
then on with that, with the stories
yeah.
that came with it, I to this day have never liked liquor. It's just never been a thing. It's interesting because I focus so much on that like me and Mary Jane.
Have a relationship. It's crazy because when I think about celebrating, right? And I was like, oh, it's your birthday yesterday. What'd you get up to? People just assume that, everybody's pouring shots and everybody out there is acting wild. But yeah, when you grow up in an environment where, it doesn't even necessarily have to be a negative thing, but when it's like prevalent, then it might not be like your go-to celebrated tool. Like,
I didn't like it.
mm,
I saw them not have control.
right.
And having moments in your life where you didn't have no control of yourself didn't make no sense. Now, mind you, once again, the hyper focus on things like that. You know how many times I have not had control over myself?
Right. Yeah, because it doesn't necessarily have to be like a substance. I mean, like I said, like when I feel spoiled, like I feel spoiled in a way when people kind of bring it back, like bring me back to like where I need to be, because it doesn't take necessarily substances to get me to a place that I don't want to be in, right? Like sometimes it's environmental too, right? Like people forget about I was just saying the other day, like it's been a while since I had a bad day from the inside out. Like a lot of the time, it's what like people bring to you, right? And so, yeah, it doesn't necessarily have to be substances to kind of like throw up your day. That's for sure.
What up, Tattoo Baby? What up, Anthony? I see y'all in the building.
Yeah, hey everyone.
I appreciate y'all. Well, and speaking of, like, I don't know, not giving yourself a bad day, I guess. I don't know. I spent a lot of time not even aware of how I felt.
Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know, but I think that they say that a lot of times in Black communities, mental health is not an excuse.
Right. Yeah. What mental health? What do you mean? Like,
It-
it's not even really a conversation. Like, yeah, it's not talked about. It's not really even acknowledged, right? Like, it's a different environment for sure.
Yeah, and it's like you'll get clowned. It's like, yeah, yo, crazy ass. And like they'll watch a mental health crisis. And even, I mean, I guess you get kind of accustomed to it when, like, in city environments, there's homeless people, and we're trained to look down on them, and a lot of their problems are mental health, or exaggerated mental health problems. But I had I was raised around, and it's weird because they're called winning mentalities, I guess,
Mm,
to a certain extent. But like, my mom, you'd think, and she was a pediatrician, so she was dealing with sick children, everything in a day. And I never understood that until way later because she didn't carry that through the door. I never saw her cry.
mhm. That's a powerful thing because I mean, a lot like social working and anything to do in like in social situations, right? Those careers, I mean, not only are they pillars of the community, but yeah, to be able to turn that off and then go inside and raise your babies and cook for your man and keep, the four walls a home and not necessarily a house, right? Like it's impressive. I know, like, not to say that maybe our generation is a little lax on all of that, but I think that we're a little bit more mindful maybe of like the struggles in people's day than we were in her generation, right? Like,
And like, you're not supposed to let your kid see you struggle
yeah.
to a certain extent. She was a generational chain breaker,
Wow.
and she was, once again, there's always this, like, life is a fine balance. So if you're hyper focused on this over here, so many other things fall to the wayside, like talking to your children about mental health, letting them know that you're having a bad day, you know, and things like that. I don't know. And it kind of made it hard for her to have a lot of tough conversations with me.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, but what do you think that is? Because I had a conversation with a good friend of mine the other day, and he was doing his thing. He was out there grinding, business owner, all this stuff. And he said to me, like, I'm Superman to my kid. Like my kid can't see me like that. And I was like, right, but is this, off the record, right? But like, is this contributing to like a false sense of
right.
what it means to be
Well,
like a
for me,
man?
look, for me, if I made a mistake, the
Mm,
pressure I put on myself.
right.
Well, because then on the other end, my dad, all his business was out in the open, and he'd be going through it in real time.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So you had that like that oxymoron situation, that little bit of contrast in your life where people didn't look the same to each of them. Okay.
And well, but he always was confident and shrugged it off and treated it like it was nothing, which in a way, help was still the same mentality of, look, what's gonna stop me from doing anything? Like mental health? What?
Yeah.
Being sad? Where does that come into play?
Yeah, it's crazy though, because sometimes I think that maybe that's why they win. Like when it's like the power of positivity or the secret. I mean, you can push it on a whole bunch of stuff, but like, is that like instead of focusing on trying to fix the broken and just hyper focusing on the positive, like is that the solution? Like maybe he knew what was good. Like maybe that is what maybe we're missing in this conversation. Like is being hyper focused on the negative all the time, trying to problem solve for those things all the time, like is that as productive as maybe just like, not to say sweeping under the rug is healthy, I just mean if you know that you're it and this is good and it's all good and people can watch you do this and you're going to come out the other side, like there has to be something to that, like it.
Well, and not everybody's wired like that either. And I think that that's been a running theme of this conversation as well, because when we were talking about addicts and me not understanding that mentality,
Mhm.
it's just a different wiring. There's clearly a whole gang of people who
Yeah.
who understand everything they're saying that I don't.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Well, and we've had this conversation before, right? Because I was like, when I think of mental health, I think of this, this, and this. And you were like, what? Like, those aren't even on my radar. I think of this, this, and this. And I was like, what? Wait a second. Like, we're having the like, it's like same style, different fashion. Like, you know what I mean? Because they're equally as important. But when it's not your day to day environment or, atmosphere, then like those aren't going to be the things that we're focusing on when we talk about maybe problem solving or, um, you know, I don't want to say that it's all bad when we talk about mental health. I mean, there's a lot of good things that come with it too, right? There's a lot of celebration in it, and just because we say health, it doesn't mean that's a negative thing. It's not an umbrella term, but yeah, I mean, we've had conversations in the past where we aren't talking the same language at all.
yeah, well, you know what? So, and you were talking about sweeping things under the rug, right?
Yeah. Because that's a, it's
Uh,
not to
it,
be about genders, but it's a typical kind of male behavior, is it not? Like,
um, well, I mean, my mom did too.
mm,
It was two examples. Uh, and let's keep it a buck. I've been around tougher chicks or chicks who can carry a load than men who can. Now it's interesting because now, whoo, hey, if we're gonna do it, we gonna do it, Kaleisha. Okay.
all in, baby, all in.
My mom being a pediatrician, she didn't necessarily need a man with money.
Okay, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so, like my stepdad hasn't had a job as long as I've known him,
Oh wow. Okay.
and he's still driven BMWs and done everything, anything. You know what I'm Louis? Whatever he wanted, he could have. Um,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? Um, and so like, but he taught me so many things about music, about food, about style, about being black. Like, you know, uh, he taught me all these things. And then my dad, you know how I said I didn't see my mom uh
Ever shed a tear,
work,
ever have to.
right, or
Yeah.
work, even like I didn't understand what she was going through at work.
Right.
My dad being, he was a musician,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and he was also a wedding DJ. And so with him, Also, those are inconsistent paychecks.
Yeah.
Mind you, the boy was cleaning up now. He was playing multiple gigs a week,
Okay.
and his fee to DJ in 96 was a couple bands for
Okay, but
your wedding.
it's crazy
Um,
though, because the difference between the two of them is that she knew where it was coming from, but he had to like self promote and hustle his butt off, right? I mean, like there's something to be said for that. Like, all the education in the world will put you in a position where you don't necessarily need to think that hard. Your job can be challenging, but you don't have to think that hard when it comes to the paycheck perspective, right? But these people out here, in the
oh,
music
that.
or any of that stuff, like that's a whole other mindset completely. Like you really got to be on top of some
And
stuff.
then the IRS comes.
Oh, that's
And then the IRS,
right. Right. Okay,
so,
yeah.
so,
Right.
woo.
Yeah. I know.
I've never put my dad's story in this perspective,
Mhm.
even in my own mind, of like the differences between the two. But once again, I never saw him lose his composure.
Yeah.
I never seen him act broker.
Mm.
Even it was weird when he'd be going through divorce or whatever. My dad had girls knocking on the door
All day, hey.
talking about I need to talk to you, woman to woman.
Love it. I love it.
And
I've
then
seen that kind of stuff, and I'm like, what? She's getting your groceries for you with that, like driving you around, and they all know, like, oh my god,
no,
impressive.
but so he's going, and like it would be weird to me because the houses would get smaller, you
Okay.
know. Um, but yeah, but just his tenacity through it all, and my mom's tenacity made me like it was funny because in school I went through so much, and like people would come around and they'd be like, "Man, I'm sorry how I bullied you," and I'd be like, "Bullied me? Huh?
Wow.
I don't recall that." And it wasn't suppression;
Right.
it was perspective.
Yeah. Ain't that something though? Because you know what I mean? Like that's again, like that might be like kind of the key. And it's not ignorance is bliss as much as like you just take in the same experience different. Like there
Yeah.
have like there's gotta be glory in some of that. Like
But there comes a time where like a day came, uh, especially dealing with my friends and people very close to me's mental health struggles, where I also had to be like, yo, I was bullied,
yeah.
and that wasn't okay.
Mhm.
And understanding that made me have higher expectations
Yeah.
for my relationships with others, and led me to be like, yo, if I'm the main one calling this person or keeping this like little things like that.
Yeah, if we ain't meeting in the middle, like I like when people are like, it's 50 and 50. No, no, no. It's 100 and 100%. Like it's 100 and 100%. Now, if you're 30% or whatever on your date and I need to come at it with like my 100 plus your 70 to like make up for you and make sure you're cool, that's different. But people that are like, it's 50-50, it ain't 50-50. I'm bringing you 100% of who I am, period. The same
Well,
way that's what I expect in return. Like we are 100%.
and that growing up was one of the toughest things for me to understand,
Right.
is because I'm always giving 100%. Why would anybody else not give 100%?
Exactly. Yeah.
And I'm really that kind of guy, even to the point of my own detriment.
Yeah.
You know,
Hard. Like you love hard. Like hard on your sleeve. Like this is what it is. And you're not shy about that. And I mean, I can sit here and interview you, which is what I intend on doing. But like coming at it from a place of like a little bit of love, like it's really interesting to be in a work setting with somebody who treats it in a personal way. You know what I mean?
I take this shit, and I think that's what a lot of people miss,
Right.
right? Because I'm
Yeah.
very sarcastic, and I'm very almost everything I say is loaded,
Yeah.
like as far as on the internet. Like in this setting, well, I'm not being loaded. I think for once, maybe right now.
Mhm.
But but what the fuck? What was?
Well, I mean, it's crazy because right now I feel like you're being a little bit unedited and a little stripped down, but you are like king of the double entendres for sure.
Well,
Like,
okay, I take it personally.
yeah,
I am passionate about this. I love what I do, and I put my all into what I'm making, and I want to expand it and grow it, and I care about the people watching. I take
yeah,
it all personally. And so and I'm surprised at how many people don't, because that's how you create genuine connections. It's why when I bring Kaleisha on my show, they know I'm not fucking, that it's somebody
for real.
I take personal. It's like, hey, let's hear what she has to say.
Hmm.
You
Yeah,
know,
and that's it's interesting because like I feel that when I watch your show, you know what I mean? Like when I go and watch your show, I'm like, I know that this person's gonna be happening because there's no way that you're gonna put somebody out there in your space that's like coming at it ill or like not correct. It's just not a thing. So you can tune into your stuff like halfway through and still sit down and then go back and watch the whole thing because that's the type of people that you keep around you. Now, with that all being said, that has to come with some heartache, right? Because people aren't like that all.
which I've been trying to get to that point. And I think a lot of people have been waiting to hear me talk about this, right? My relationship with my brother has been compromised, you know? Um, Obviously, we still love each other, we'll see each other, we'll have a great time, whatever, but just always passionate and taking everything so personal. Um, uh, when it didn't need to be that way, and you know, and not thinking long term, and and just it being about dumb stuff, and like he's pregnant with his third kid is on the way. I haven't seen the second,
Mm, that's a challenging situation, right?
you know. Um, I've seen him, uh, and shit, I cried then. It's just when you're that passionate, you make a lot of short-term decisions that cost you a lot of long-term things. And you have to live with that. And it's crazy because I'm the type, even like, and with my dad and with my mom, and like a great example is like, I think of this. When I think of Eminem, and when I think of Eminem, one thing I think about is like, yo, he has no desire to ever find out who his dad is. He has no desire to be able to talk to his mom again. You know,
Well,
uh,
yeah, I mean, the it's a challenging one because you can't speak on behalf of other people, but I understand what you mean because like, I mean my family situation's colorful and complicated. It always has been. You know what I mean? I got 50
Everybody's is.
100%. But yeah, I mean, you have to get to a certain place in your soul to completely cut people off and be like, I'm not interested in that. Like I'm not sure how to do that because I mean, people have torn me right up and spit me right out, and I still come back for more, like just a glutton for punishment. But because that's how I love, right? I'm like, well, I'm just gonna love them back. Like
Well,
I'm just gonna keep showing up until like everyone shows out for it. I guess I don't know. But like, but is that healthy too, right? Like, does that make for healthy relationships if they're not interested and they haven't shown? I mean, you're talking about Eminem,
well, and to
with his dad, like why, you know what I mean? You're going to go back how many years now, 50 years, and try and find some dude that was not cool with it to begin with. I mean,
well, and see, okay, I remember what now, and this is what makes it crazy, right? Because the fallout between me and my brother, right? I found out that he was having a kid through the internet.
Yeah, that would.
And it was an album cover, like thing, saying that he was having his second kid. We're in a group chat together at that point that is used frequently. Like, we are siblings. Like, all of us are talking shit, whatever. Even if like they belittle me a little in there, whatever. We fucking love each other at the end of the day. So why, when we're in a group chat, yeah, would we do that? And so but would I have cared if I knew that I wouldn't be able to see that baby?
Oh.
Would I have, you know what I'm saying?
Okay, but hold on. Can we just break this down for a couple of people who don't know what's going on? So, what came first, like the chicken or the egg? Like, did the album cover come first, and that was the situation, or like were you guys already kind of like it wasn't really a thing, or did
we were fine at that point. We were fine.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, I had just came off tour with his people. We shut down the tour. It's funny. I feel so undercredited and underloved, and I feel like I fought to be loved, and a lot of it is just because, like, even reading your description and what you wrote about me, right? You wrote a great write-up, right? It wasn't good enough for me. I'm like, yo, a show in Bloomington? What? I done been on tour. I done opened for Lil. Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God. Okay.
Yo, no, I wrote out a whole thing.
No, you did not.
And deleted it. Oh. I wrote out a whole thing and deleted it. I
was like, listen, I did the research. Okay, these are the highlights that I chose to highlight. Like, I just jumped on it like forward. I was like,
you described me flawlessly. Okay.
Well, I appreciate it.
But it's never enough. It's so like
that's hilarious.
Or like the song on my new album. I hope it's enough. I hope it's enough. No, it's not.
Never.
Not for me, not for them, damn it. Like,
yeah, but that's what keeps you hungry, and that's what's important. Like, that's what it is about. Like, that's why you are who you are, and that's what keeps your music, super fleeky. That's what keeps your tours really interesting, your content really interesting. It's because you are like shamelessly Daz Exotic. You are shamelessly who you are, and you have no problem saying
that's
good, and you have no problem being like, this is not what it is. You need to come correct. You need to switch this up and put it out properly, and like it cleans stuff up. And I mean, if people aren't there for it, too bad.
Well, and see, but like, and to give a little bit more context and tying in some of what we've talked about, when you're as expressive and emotional as I am, being surrounded by such unemotional people makes you feel unloved. And so, like, you're sitting there fighting for validation that's never going to come because that's just not who they are.
Yeah.
And when you're arguing with them, and for, you know what I'm saying, and like trying to force this thing, of course you're going to like create distance and problems. And so that's where accepting people where they are comes, and accepting accountability.
It's true. It's true. You have, that's the thing, right? It's like I'm having it, maybe that is something that like when when you're like a professional, or you're like you hyper focus on like professionalism, perfection, and all of those things, right? And then I'm like, okay, but like at what cost? Like at what, like is the product, does the product outweigh the process, right? Like am I going to tear up the whole process just for this awesome product, or like do I enjoy the process of getting it out there and then in hopes that everything kind of falls together in the end and then they can see what the point was, right? Like it's one of those like those balance things, like where does like the where does the peace lie, right? Like where does the comfort lie, where like at what cost is it going to be good enough, because you're not wrong for being like that, you know. I mean that's what creates interesting stuff. And because you live your life by creating product for other people and creating music and putting yourself out there in like a really expressive and vulnerable way, it can be challenging, right? But at the same time, like, are you through?
Well, even with milk,
Yeah.
milk felt like I put the product before him, and that hurt his feelings, and was a shift in our relationship. And you know, not a shift, but like something to work towards, and that gave me that but the product got to 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 come hot, because even for me, I feel like in those moments I'm thinking long term, because you have to, the number one rule of business is high risk equals high reward.
Yeah, we got to risk it for the biscuit, baby. Like that's what's up.
And with all of the people watching now, like all of it, all the like, to let them down when it's all said and done. And even like, I don't want to waste, you're a mother. I think about all, when I say it's personal to me, I think about all those things, a mother, a wife, like all of those things. Why would I want to waste your time? And why would I not? I want to make you fucking proud. I want to make Elisa proud. I want to make Tori proud. I want to make Dawn proud. They are investing their time.
Yeah, you're right. And you know what? Maybe that's the piece that is not necessarily missing, but like maybe that's like the candid conversations that like that would be worth exposing a little bit, right? Like when I heard that, I was like, I can, pardon my language, I could fucking go right back to the beginning and excuse a bunch of crazy. Like there was times where I was just like, what's going on here? Like what's going on here? But then when you say it like that, you're like, nah, I value what it is. Then it changes the context in which even the
Because
conversation.
that's what it. And
Like,
Elisa says, "Make yourself proud." Right?
yeah,
I
yeah,
can't make myself proud if I can't take care of my wife.
Yeah, it's true.
If I can't, like, if I have to borrow money from my mama, I can't be proud. And that's where I want to think about my grandkids and leaving them something to say, my granddaddy did this. And we're you know how many beautiful stories that we just let fly out one ear and out the other of yeah, I was left this lake and I get to go there fishing.
Is that not a thing? Does that not drive you nuts? It, like, with that tone as the story goes now. But they can't tell you nothing about how it even became a thing.
And it's such a rich story.
I know.
It's such a rich story to tell so lackadaisically.
Yeah, I know.
You know?
How casual. Yeah.
But like, you know, and also legacy affects our mental health so deeply, and we don't think about it, and helps us understand who we are, which is such an integral part of understanding of our mental health and correcting our decision making. And like,
yeah, I heard a crazy thing the other day, and it was like, instead of breaking the chains, right? Like, can we just create new chains, like, on top of the ones? Can you hear my baby? Speaking of being a mama, can you hear my baby in the background?
I just noticed because you said that.
This might be the episode where I got to bring him on the air. Do you know that?
Hey, I mean, if it is, that's, you know,
like,
that's a beauty. Yeah, that is it. Would it be the first time?
The first time, yeah.
You know, I only like first. Well,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't want to take nobody's virginity though.
No, but it's like we're sitting here having this beautiful conversation. I'm like, I can't leave him like that. He's too sweet. But yeah, it would be the first time. If you're cool with it, like, I'm gonna go grab him.
That's fine. That's fine. We're chilling. I can entertain him in the meantime. What up, y'all? What up, y'all? Shout out Bird, Train Hopper. I see you. I love you. Thank you for your years of support. Shout out Calico in the building. Calico, you didn't hear it. I heard it. Yeah, no. Shout out Revelant. Shout out Don, who just entered the building. This is a mental health and music episode. I just dropped my project on the late night tip. It is out now on all streaming services. Get it. I'm chilling. It's the day after my birthday. What up? We got Burner Blue in the building. Thank you for singing me happy birthday on my birthday. Hey. We're on here discussing music and mental health. Yeah, Calico. Yeah, it's cancer season. Cancers are so emotional. What? Why are you emotional? I'm just chilling. I'm mad there's on my page there's only 4 of y'all. Tag somebody. Give it some likes. Tag somebody. Somebody send it to J Life. Oh shit. Leo season. Oh man. Geminis, Leos. Hey, Mr. We've talked about this there's so many cancers. Shout out Maya Monet. Shout out Aunt Jones Attune. As a matter of fact, there will be directly after this a listening section. I think I seen Heidi in the building. Shout out Heidi in the building. But and thank you. Ah, shoot, even bird cancer? Okay. Don't worry, Aunt. We ain't fully done yet. What up? What up? But yeah, we'll be having a. He's gonna be giving the album a first listen. Oh,
Okay. Sorry about all that.
you're good. Um, so speaking of knowing yourself and knowing your lineage and where you're from, right? My dad is a foster kid,
Right.
and so he didn't know his dad or mom, you know, which explained a lot, you know, and also why my mom and him were such a combination and were able to be so successful because they both had a drive to start their own legacy in
Yeah.
something new from the familiar. Now,
There's something to be said for foster kids.
oh, my dad is a whole now like he's a whole different breed. He's an incredible person and one of the strongest and one of the bossest people I know, being 5'3", especially. So um
Yeah.
and with some of the strongest genetics ever to not know his back genetics. Eventually he came to meet his real mom. Um but she passed shortly after.
I always wonder about situations like that. Like, you always hear about like the reuniting, and then often it's kind of met with like, someone leaving the situation. And I always wonder, like, were they holding out for that moment? You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of people that's like, man, I waited my whole life to meet my mom or my dad, and then they met them, and then they go on. I'm like, I wonder if there's something to that.
I mean, right, for that to happen. I remember the phone call. I remember exactly where I was. I got to spend uh one summer with her. Um and it was funny because I talked to my dad, and this is a great segue because it's part of the topic of, the new project the other day. And I was asking him, because even though he found his mom's side, that still means who his dad is an absolute mystery still.
Wild. That's wild. Like,
How so much of us can literally just be like, and
yeah,
how do we fill ourselves, and how are some of us capable of doing it?
right. And what
And
do you fill it with? Like, do you just make things for yourself? Do you just like, all right, this is my culture now. This is the area I grew up in. I'm just gonna speak
yeah,
culture. This is mine now.
well,
Like,
even music
mhm,
filled that void for him in so many ways. Learning drums, like going to concerts, just all that. It created a life for him. And uh he had really great like, because there's those people foster parents who just take on a bunch of kids. And he had who instilled great values, you
yeah,
know.
some of them are out there trying to catch a check, and I'm not trying to talk ill. I grew up in foster care, so I understand like the space
Oh,
around
I get it. I get it.
our
She,
and you know what I mean. The
she
mama's working, daddy's
she's sus.
friend works. Like, yeah.
She's sus. But my dad defends her
Mm.
with his whole heart and soul, and uh like owes his life to her. So uh it's good to hear a story like that. But so what he told me when I asked him about the dad was that he put a fake name.
Really?
Yeah. You know the first thing I thought when I heard that? That's not surprising at all. That's some
That's some gangster shit.
no. I'm like, that's how you kids. That's how you. That makes a lot of sense. Over there, I mean, it's because to go, like um the project on the late night tip is about an artist trying to balance being an artist with being a family man and the variety of emotions that come with it and the lessons that come with it, and so it's funny hearing that story because it's like, man, this shit is that deep. And like cheating, like those kind of things, like I don't know, like my dad's not a monster, but at the same time thinking back, and being like, damn, ain't no place closed after 2 o'clock. 2 a.m. Ain't no place open after 2 a.m.
Man, but what you
And,
doing? Like,
and my dad ain't coming home till when?
yeah, what you doing?
And,
This lady
and
doing here now, and like, what do you mean? I got like, who is this young lady? Like, I only got
well, and
brothers.
I never saw them, but I know like when my dad would come back home, and I know that like I'm sitting there with a lady who thinks my dad is on bullshit, having to take care of me.
Yeah.
And I look just like the nigga. Like, what do you mean?
Yeah, you're right. Trying to feed you up off of pot scrapings, like, like for real though. I know. Listen, watching people grieve and you don't know why they're grieving because you don't even know that they just
You
lost.
don't understand.
Like, what
And
do you
I'm
mean?
just
What
you
kid?
know,
You talking
and,
about? I am your
you know,
kid. What? Like,
and I'm just a kid, so like I don't know. And like I understand these things later on, and it's like, damn, like it really, like, and he was heartless in some ways, but like he's a lot different than my mom in that like he receives it and tries to grow over time.
well,
From it.
is that music or entertainment culture, or like, I mean, it must be. But is it also like, because I mean, I know people on that, but they're coming in at a camp, like, you know what I mean? People that got wives by the airport and other wives by the other airport and like whatever, and that has
Eh,
nothing to do with the
I
entertainment.
mean, the first song is called "Every City."
I know, I know. Man, I dug it. I was like, this guy's trying to like create a narrative about, like really trying to be at home mentally, but like also is physically somewhere else. Like there's some good cuts in there. Like there's some good cuts in there. I was down for it. When you asked me if I'd listened to it, I was like, I listened to it. I listened to it, and it has like the kind of, I don't want to review it too much out of like professional courtesy because I know that there's people doing shows after this, but it has like an upbeat kind of ludicrous pimping all over the world vibe, but it's talking about serious issues, which is why it's so palatable. Like I was down for it. I was like, I understand this. I understand this conversation. You know what I mean? Is if you were a kid with parents that were in the music industry, or you are in the music industry, you would. It's an easy understanding,
Yeah, I
journey to
think.
go through. Like
Yeah,
it's.
I always try to tell a story, and sometimes people miss it, sometimes people get it, but I mean, uh, I'm gonna start going to therapy and things like that, just in general, to even processing, like trying to make it grow. It's tough. Like even right now, like I want more. All just like I want more. And it's like when you're this close and when you have, you know, you just want to take it there and get what you deserve,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
And maybe I don't deserve it yet, you know? And it's trying to find out how,
Right.
you
What kind of
know?
therapies are you looking about going into to like get you to this place? Like, have you thought about them at all? Like, what it is like that? Because I mean, there's so many different things that you can do that might unlock some of those doors, or like give you the key to those other rooms. Like, is there things that you've thought about, or are
Well,
you like going in like balls out?
I mean, well, I've used music and I've always used listening to music. Like I try not to talk. It would be nice. Like I don't have anybody. Like even the things I've talked to tonight. One of the toughest things is feeling like people will use it as ammunition. You know, like, and so like I've never, and I haven't been around people, so like I can express myself in a song, but to like talk about it and to hear opinions about myself I don't agree on and to, like, face that truth, I guess.
Do you think like there's
Even the simplest
like a
therapy.
bit of a veil between you and like the reality, right? Like, because you can, even though you're like putting yourself out there in a vulnerable position, there you still create the narrative, right? Like, you even just like being so diplomatic and like, because when you talk, you never really tell the whole story. I mean, you do if you're talking to people who understand what the hell you're talking about. You're black, but there's a whole other like chunk of people that are like, what? Why wouldn't he just say what the hell he means? Like, you know what I mean? Why didn't he tell the whole piece? And it's like that part of like being like protective of those spaces, right? You don't want to give people the
Well,
that.
it sucks. Yo, you know what? It's kind of like, well, I create the narrative to be able to keep my privacy.
Right.
And so I think I'm not supposed to say this, but a lot of stuff is the appearance of transparency versus the reality of it because people want that. People want to feel like they know you. They feel, you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, of course.
even being like, I woke up feeling great, ate frosted flakes. Like, do I genuinely love frosted flakes? Yeah. Yeah, of course I do.
I mean,
Yeah.
we all do. Like, you know what I mean? But is that really your real favorite? Like, nah.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Do I eat it every morning? No. People should think that, but do some people think I eat it every morning?
Well, you're out there eating tricks. I mean, yeah,
I'm
like,
still very true to who I am.
mm,
You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Like, but like, people get mad at anything I fucking say.
right.
So they don't leave me much room to say much.
So then what do? Do you scream it from the rooftops then? Or do you keep
I,
it to yourself, right? Like,
I try and I get called whatever about it. I think even with like you, this is like you are one of the few people who can have a heated disagreement and still respect it. And so like there's not a lot of that. And so that's where like people don't want to hear anything other than what they want to hear.
yeah. Well, I
I
don't.
don't know. I would like to be able to talk more, but like no. I don't I don't know. I talk a lot but like, I don't know, a lot of times it's interviewing other people, you know, and other things like that. Like, even that's what makes this way different is I'm making myself vulnerable now.
I was just gonna say, like, it's funny because when I went into this, I was fully expecting you to like run this mic for 45 straight minutes of your complete bio. And I would have sat here like a good little girl and took it 100%. You know what I mean? Because that's what's appropriate. I go into this being like, this is your space. I want to create a platform where people feel safe and they can say the things that they don't want to say and know that I genuinely like not only am like certified to take it, but I give a shit. You know what I mean? And if that helps a few people in the comment section, great. But that's not what I got. What I got was like probably the most constructive and productive conversation I've ever had with you. And not because we don't like have awesome conversations that are like run the gamut of emotions and then come out with some sort of product. But like, to be honest, you know what I mean? There's like a lot more give and take in this conversation than conversations we've had in the past.
Well, I mean, one thing for starters is I'm working on, you know, that you know, not because I'm so used to being a podcaster, it's tough to get in the other seat. And
Right.
secondly, which was really good, and I'm having a hard time remembering now. But oh, I give criticism. I want criticism.
Ah, yeah. Okay, so
I'm not scared of criticism. People think that I'm scared of criticism. And it's really upsetting because I'm battle tested. I've been through so much. You can look at my comment section. People talk shit all fucking day. I joke on myself, all kinds of stuff. Like, but people think, oh, I bet you couldn't take it. Yeah, I've gotten it my whole life. So, like, there's been times where I didn't take it and I wish I did.
interesting you say that because what I found, and I'm just being like, you know, off the record, full disclosure. When we first started talking about, because we were talking about like some heavy stuff, some big topics, some important topics, and it's your show. And you're like, do you want to co-host or whatever? I don't know if this is such a good idea because like I'm very opinionated and you are very like power forward in like what you want something to look like, right? And so I was like, I don't know if this is such a great idea. The only thing that I found that was really interesting was that like you'll take people to this like super high place, like emotionally, and then be like, I would like the criticism. And I'm like, no, well, if I had known that the whole damn time, we could have had like this like constructive criticism thing. But because you put up this like wild wall of like, I ain't gonna listen to what you're about to say anyway. And not in like a shitty way, but you're just like, listen to like what's happening for so long that I was like, if I say something, this dude's gonna like completely level this whole conversation. Like I'm never gonna be able to
Wow.
get back to like a healthy place. And so when you said that to me that day, I was like, oh snap. Like I actually you don't present with that forward. You don't present with like constructive
I'd
criticism.
like to think it goes without saying. I
Yep.
try.
The
I
truth.
like. Look. I'm a soup sandwich because as much as I talk, I don't like wasting words
Yeah.
either. So, like,
Right. But that's fair. I mean, you know what I mean? Like you do it for a living. You do it in an entertainment way. You do it for your family. You obviously are like the person to get up and say the cheers and all the things. So I can understand why you're like, I'm not about it. Yesterday, I was like, I am here to like genuinely enjoy the space. I don't think I said but maybe 100 words the entire day. You're talking 6 straight hours, my friend. And I was like, not about it. Because I was like, man, for real, like if I don't have to, then I'm just gonna take advantage of the fact that I don't have to. This is who I am, you know? Like seriously. And I probably left there people being like, well, that was weird. Like, I mean, she's nice or whatever, but she didn't really say much. And then they all went over to my Facebook and was like, what? what? Because for sure, and I know that that's like, it has to be the same way for you because there's just no way. Like people, there's just no way. They click over and they're like, man, this dude is really saying something. In the same way that like your album cases and all of your things are really playful, but then when you talk, you actually say something with substance.
I don't get, look, people, this is the problem. Even this is the second, first off, on the late night tip, we're just going to be fully honest. It's been out on SoundCloud since the cover of me in front of the fireplace. I don't know why people are acting like it's new now. I mean, I put it out on everywhere now, but they literally aren't acting like it was something that was already out, repackaged. They're acting like I never said it then. I'm glad that they're acknowledging it now. But they didn't at the time.
Is it the photo shoot though? Because man, I pick up some stuff. I was like, who is this woman? What is going on? Look at this boy out here doing all this grown man stuff. Like for real. Like it created so much conversation.
They sent the cover to my mom, but then didn't. Oh, you're talking about the second cover.
That's what I mean. And it didn't even matter what the cover was for. But as soon as I seen that, I went back and checked all your stuff and was like, what the heck did I miss? Like, it's amazing what one photo will do or two photos will do, right? Like, it will light.
Well, but my problem is that, I don't know. Yeah, sure. But shout out Jade for being on the cover with me on there. On the newer cover.
It's a beautiful cover. But you already know what you're doing because you've been doing the same thing for a while. Like, you know what you're looking for aesthetically, right? Like, there is an image. I don't know why we're trying to act like it ain't that because it's, you know it's
good. No, I need to up my image because they didn't think I really got the Cybertruck.
Really?
They didn't believe. Look. We've been on here. We've been on here
for like, a couple minutes.
An hour. Yeah. I think yeah.
Well, that's fine. You can sign off, but I'm going to catch you for a part 2 because I had a whole bunch more questions to ask and that I feel like you should probably answer. If you're going to be, candid up for like a part 2 later on, I would probably find time to sort through that.
I don't know. Maybe we'll have to talk about it. Your people can talk to my people. But how long do your episodes are usually an hour, right?
Yeah, and usually I'm like 45 minutes. I start wrapping it up, but like it's hard to do with you because I finally feel like we like broke through like a little bit of like a wall, and I'm like, man, I would just sit here. I will sit here quietly if you got more to say, like for real. Like I almost wanted to force you into that earlier, but I'm not about to do that and make it uncomfortable.
No, I mean, what question did you have? I don't know about all this. We still. What question did you have?
We good? No, I'm just kidding. No, my question to you is like when you get put into a position where you have to kind of like compromise with people, like do you feel like you're giving up creative freedom, or do you have like a really challenging time? And why I wanted to ask you that specifically is because
that's a great question. That's one of the best. I mean, for me personally, yeah. And so, say your because.
Well, and because like I know that and we talked a little bit about it, like you said, like it is challenging for you to kind of like make those sacrifices, but in a very serious way, like where do you kind of like draw the line where you're not willing to sacrifice? You would rather be uncomfortable with the relationship than sacrifice
the art.
Yeah.
I'll probably cut the relationship off and take the art with me. Or, because if you don't believe in my idea, I mean, I'm willing to come. It depends. I don't know. Like, I just had to cancel something because they were trying to force a venue I didn't want, and didn't make the other people I wanted to work with comfortable. So I don't know. I think I need to work on being able to compromise more in those situations. I think that I'm so tunnel visioned a lot of times that getting to that point is tough. It stunts growth. It causes it to, but I don't know. It's one of those things where if you're willing to, if you're not willing to do something, you've got to be willing to work twice as hard once you make that decision, because that means you're gonna have a you're gonna have doors closed. You know, like even as long I've never wanted a record deal. I've never cared about that. I couldn't imagine somebody telling me what to do, what to wear, like, you know, um obviously that's, I mean, the idea of having help has adjusted a little bit, but like you got to work twice as hard because there's a whole system, and you got to know when to work with the system and when not to, and be willing to do twice as much work and learn twice as much work, if that's your decision, and to be very hands on.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, that makes sense to me. You know what I mean? Like if someone's bringing something to the table and you ain't down with it, then you got to pick up that piece and pick up that slack and eat that food that was on that plate. Like, yeah, I understand that for sure. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And my other question too, and it's not as serious, but it's a little bit of maybe more to do with the fact.
Well, to lead on to that, it doesn't just go with creativeness. If you really want something, don't settle for less.
Yeah.
And treat every day like you're going to own that. So many people don't. You got to own your greatness and not let people talk you out of it. Is somebody trying to talk you out of your greatness? How do you tell the difference? I know there's been many times where I couldn't, and I wish I could.
Right. Yeah. And like, how do you stay true to yourself when like everyone else around you is like maybe not with that? Like, you know what I mean? Like, how does Daz Exotic deal with being in an environment where it ain't your people, but you have to stay true to like who you are as an artist and who you are as a person when that doesn't fit everybody else's narrative in that moment? Like, there's got to come times where like, it doesn't necessarily, it's not flattering to maybe.
It's why they're scared of me. That's why they're scared of me.
Okay.
I say, I say, owing me some money, that's a scary sight to see. Security is going to need security from me.
Right.
And I need to find a more constructive way, but I think for everything creative, there's an equally destructive nature to the person, because how can you be so creative without do you and fuck everybody else? Yes and no. Yes and no.
Like, yeah, because that's the only way to like have content in a product that nobody else can make. Like,
well,
you know what I mean? Like that's got to be like all the things that equal not a sellout, right? Like when
a lot of people ain't been around real rock stars, and so when you're around real rock star behavior, motherfucker, like they haven't felt that energy.
Yeah.
They're like, whoa, and like, yeah, Elisa, ultimately be you, but there's consequences with it. And are you willing to deal with the consequences of being you? And how do you find your audience? I don't know. Because I don't know. Because there's always going to be people criticizing and
I mean,
saying this. And you have to work with people, though. You have to. I cannot do it on my own. I just can't.
no. Well, and you get to a point where you can't be out there just sweating your balls off all day long. You got to show up correct too. I mean, it's all good to put in a little sweat equity, but you can delegate a little bit. You know what I mean?
Well, because then you're a micromanager and you're a fucking psycho. Like, my level, like, for real, though. Like, it gets messy. Yes, people are hard to trust, but, like, micromanaging is nasty work.
It's
And just show.
And it doesn't, but it doesn't does it clip, does it clip your wings too, right? Like if you're out there trying to like delegate and multitask and micromanage and blah 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 blah, like are you really focusing on what you need to be focused on? You know what I mean? Does that
It's impossible to
space away from like what you could be doing or what you should be doing or whatever?
Oh yeah, even setting up the show. Like I had to catch up on practice because I had to do so much of everything else, like even my last set, I couldn't even remember my words because I had to book everything top to bottom, drive myself out there. Like, I didn't even have time to remember the words to the second half, to my second set. So I don't like, but if you want something done right, do it yourself, and like it's crazy because that's what makes my experiences different than other people's because like I will do whatever the fuck it takes to make it a special thing.
Yeah, but but that is putting aces in their places. Like that is going to be the difference between you and everybody else, right? You got to find the people that'll show up for you, and like let you just be like at the top of the bill, right? Like that's the challenging part. And you got a whole bunch of people that are all trying to be in that space. Like it ain't maybe that ain't it.
Ooh, well, and it's okay. So like even to get more. Info going on. Arizona, setting up the Arizona show to follow up. We can start. To set up the Arizona show. I wanted to work with new people. I wanted to work with, I wanted to work with, I worked with familiar people who have done great work, right? And so, but then they wanted to bring in people who I hadn't. We're in a chat, and mind you, this was my idea and stuff. It's like, oh no, she's running point guard. Huh? What? Oh, this conversation's over. Now, what are we talking about? Yeah. And like, am I wrong for like I don't know, like should I do like I don't know. I don't want to like I don't know. I don't mind being booked by other people, but most of the time I just like I have enough connections on my own. I just need a little bit of this or that.
Yeah, just a little bit. Yeah, just a little freaking sprinkle, like just to get everything lubed up and ready to go. Yeah, I get that because you don't need somebody to like run you from A to B, but a ride would be nice. You know what I mean?
I don't even want that. Yeah, like well, there's so many horror stories of like rappers. Well, even when Let's Vibe TV started, right? I had a whole team running it, and they were like, "Oh yeah, this is great. Just sit in that chair, boom,
right?
Book the acts, And I'm like, yo, teach me how to run the app.
Mm.
Maybe some, maybe. Bye. Boom. Five minutes before episode.
Yeah.
You know,
Later.
what 4 years later?
Wow.
Let's Vibe TV is, is still here. And like, it's like, yo, why are you trying to leave me dumb and disguise it as help?
Right. Because, but I mean, people do that, right? Because they want to secure their space in that place, right? They're like, well, if he knows, then I'm disposable, and that is true to a certain aspect, for sure. But like, if I don't know what's good, like, what if you get sick? What if it ain't it that day? What if something comes up? Like, what if somebody dies? Like, you're gonna leave me in my own space like that, tore up, not knowing? Come on.
They want that though. They want to be needed. They don't want to watch the show without them. And so, I don't know. It like, yo, these are deep issues too. Like that I'm like in complexes and like trust breakings and like walls built up like that don't even sound that bad. But like, I don't know, like, I know the right things to do in situations, like, but like, it makes picking and choosing hard, and like, it's part of growth to trust people. It's what love is. It's how families are created, is off of foundations of trust and love. Not not hate. And
it's crazy. I had a conversation the other day about like, once you have a big blowout, does that leave you in a place where you understand who people are for you, right? Like, because it can be challenging, like just assuming in a new relationship, assuming that things when like you don't know where people are, and if you're from the streets and stuff, like, yourself out in that situation, right? And I get called out all the time for people being like, I don't know where I stand with you. I have no idea where I stand. But when something blows up, people know where I stand with them because I'm there, right? And like I find that a lot of my relationships that come through like that are thick, it's because of like some catastrophic situation went down and people actually know that like it's all good. Like, you know what I mean? I don't have to say we're ride or die to say that we're ride or die, but like when push comes to shove, because other than that, people are like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I can't read you. I don't understand. Like, when you say something, like if that's what you I mean, it is what you mean, but like, are you being sarcastic? Like, because it comes off so cold, right? And I'm so consistently a cold person. Whereas I feel like you maybe have, do you mind, child? The opposite problem. Like, you're very playful and loving. And does it come off like, the opposite, but with like the same extreme?
Yeah, no, I think people know exactly where they stand with me. I think I need to work on that. But I'm a Cancer. So like it's tough being a Cancer, and I feel weird being 36 talking about signs, but that should be real. When I read about that, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'm just I think I try to let people know where they stand with me. And usually the people who don't know should. The silence for me especially speaks volumes, maybe more than any word I say.
But it cannot be misinterpreted too, because I mean, so when I go into something, like if I don't have communication all day, it's because I trust the fact that we're all good, right? Like,
Yeah. Well, I don't mean like
that's not, but I'm not speaking for you. I just mean like, so if you have two people in a situation like that, can that be misinterpreted? Because if that ain't it, Like man, if the babysitter don't call, that means no one died. Like we're good. Whereas like, people are like, they
Well,
want to call
that's still
police
silent
to get there.
speaking. That's still silent speaking volumes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it depends on the person.
Mm.
Like, my wife's family's quiet. So if they call more than once,
It-
oh, I don't want to know. Like, you know, while, I don't know, other people, if I call you more than once, I probably got a spark of inspiration,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're
which
like,
could,
oh shit, I gotta tell you something. Yeah,
yeah. Speaking of which, damn.
okay.
Speaking of which, this leads to with mental health. How do you feel about people who are vocal about their struggles? Do you think that they like, because for me, one of the craziest times I ever, one of the darkest things I ever went through, my best friend in the whole universe, uh, and silence speaking volumes. It was a whole day. She had called me at like 2:30 the night before, and then there was a whole day that she didn't text me, and I waited on her to text me, and that silence spoke volumes. And I tried to turn that down, and then I got a call the next morning that she had passed on, um, and that she had took her own life. Um, and she had let me know that she was sad, but she had such a sarcastic, outrageous way of saying it. But I don't know. She did that all the time to me. I don't know. She was one of those people that I trusted on a deep level. Even when she didn't deserve it. Just I don't know. Whatever. I don't know why, but I remember I didn't know what whippets were. Like, yeah. Yo, she was a trip and a half.
Those are serious, man. Like that's not a joke. Like
Never,
that's a joke. Period. I don't care what trip you're on. Like that is like some next level people stuff. Like I don't know. Like I don't know about much of that. I do know a little bit, and what I can speak on is like that ain't it. But what I will say, that's the challenging part, right?
well, she grew way past it
Yeah.
by the time, she ended up she ended up like, because she was spiraling out of control and she got a DUI. And then she brought her life back together. She had 2 kids, a beautiful home, just everything in the universe. Um, she had a boyfriend, all that, and yeah, she took yeah, she was grieving a lot of things. I don't know, but even when you're overcoming uh stuff, uh reflecting on the destruction you caused can make you upset, and so I don't know, but being one of the last people she called and not being up,
Yep.
uh, just all of that.
Go ahead. I ain't gonna cut you off on this one, man.
No, I don't even know what to. I don't even.
So
I'm at
crazy.
a loss for words.
Crazy. It's one of those situations where like I I maybe prefer the quiet because I don't have to answer to situations like that, right? Like you're talking to somebody who's buried all sorts of people, like for all sorts of reasons, and none of them glamorous. Obviously, death is never a glamorous thing, and they leave behind babies and family, and like I've had conversations where, like I've said, like I missed my kid's fifth birthday because I was dress shopping for um, I was dress shopping for my brother, right? Like here I am with his mom when I'm a mom trying to be like it just is crazy. So there is no glamour in any of that. But it's like it is challenging because when somebody is like a usual suspect in your life and they got like, your regular checking in and you don't hear nothing for a while, the same way that if you don't hear nothing from a usual suspect, but they checking in all the time, like clinically, those are both signs of like reasons why something same way that maybe like somebody who's always dressing real well ain't dressing real well, or somebody who is not social at all, but all of a sudden is like out and about and acting kind of crazy and super excited and flamboyant or whatever. And I mean that in like all sorts of ways. Like when people are stepping out of the norm, like it is like a cry for help. And it doesn't have to be a bad cry. Like that's the issue with this, right? Is that we overlook
Well,
things
and that's
because
well,
we're like,
yeah.
live that. This is
But it
right,
takes it
you know?
takes a lot of attention that we don't pay. Even something interesting that was said earlier by Lisa. She said she worked as a nurse
Right,
and a caretaker for years and didn't take it personally
right.
until she was in the situation where
Mhm.
somebody she cared about needed help. And that's so crazy to be that close to it and separate. It's interesting because that job takes it a little bit, but even for me, like, I don't know, like, I was there helping make the things for her funeral, and like, even me in my, like, there was so many thoughts I thought, right? Like, it sank in that it was real. What I was doing at that moment, I'm sitting there, you know, making whatever sign, helping with whatever. And I'm like, and then like, this is what you're making it for. And it's the most surreal experience that you're making you're making it for your dead friend, your dead best friend, and you are the one making it.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
What? How did I? And then I feel like a shitty best friend
Wow. I mean,
because
that's
damn, I was really her best friend.
right. Yeah, because you're the only one making the things, right?
I'm
Like,
the one. I'm the one making. Yo, okay. There's her mom. Uh, there's her boyfriend. There's her kids.
yeah, because
Oh,
you knew the relationship that you had with her. So, like, if that's what it was, like, you know,
there's the siblings. Like, and I'm like, whoa, her family knew like that.
yeah.
And that's it. And I'm like, I let her family, I don't like, you deal with all, like, yo, um, for as confident as people think I am, I feel like a loser in every way. I even shout out Chris watching. I told him I was gonna send him the link when this started. I forgot. Damn. I didn't mean to do that. That dude, I he's one of the realest, most genuine people ever. And I like all the time I forget. And he's one of like the only people And I hate that it always has, like stupid shit like that. But like, I feel like a terrible friend. I even with our communication, I feel like I've been terrible to you. Like, like I feel like I've been terrible to my life. Like, I like so. I feel like I've been a bad son. Like, but I but I just hope and I keep every day I just try to make it up to everybody and to myself and to leave something great for the world and for the future. And so, but yeah, like we all, you know, I just always hope that it's always for a reason and for a greater cause and as motivation to try harder the next day.
Yeah, you do that. I think that you actually do a really great job of like showing people who you are. You're extremely interesting, to be quite honest, and you don't leave a whole lot, in the dark, which a lot of people need. They need to be able to hang their hat on something, and you do that for people. If people don't see that necessarily at the first meet or the second meet, they certainly do for the third. And like, um, you know, I don't I don't think there's a lot of room for interpretation on who you are and who you try to be, which is a really great quality to have. You know what I mean? The only, I would never be like critique who you are or what you're about, but I definitely think you need to like see what we all see, right? Like you deserve to have that in your life, see it from our perspective because it's pretty awesome, right?
Well, I appreciate that. Uh, but yeah, I just yeah, I hope just that everybody, you know, uh tries to take care of themselves and try to, because I think that everything will be better if we all try to be honest with ourselves and what we're trying to do and not be so judgmental of everybody else because our shit stinks. A lot of that comes, but people need to learn how to take advice too. It's tough because we're all on different waves. Even so many of the things my brother would tell me, I I tell people now, and I would literally like cuss my brother out when he tell me those things. And so I'm like, damn. There's all things to grow and like loyalty decisions and what I thought I knew and even like Bloomington, Illinois.
This is my next question. Uh-huh.
I wanted to be like, yo, I made it right from home, from the middle of freaking nowhere.
Yeah.
I'm here to tell you it don't happen like that. The infrastructure of some places is not set up for that. You have to take yourself to a bigger. There's not even enough people. If there's 1 million people, how are you going to get everybody in your city to listen to it? every grandma, blah blah blah, like
It's out there though. It's true. It's just a numbers game, and that's the thing. Like there is ways to do it. I mean, there is definitely creative ways to do it, but you can't. So my question, honestly, and I don't care how you segue this to next Tuesday, it don't matter. But what I wanted to ask you was like, when I did that write up, and you're like, "Man, I'm in the ATL. Like, I'm here, I'm there." Like, I know that, and I read the articles, and I read what you were doing, what you're doing, and some of that I knew in real time. But what I was trying to do was like push this content to back where you came from. Now, what is it important to hold true to that original space when you know that you might get like the jump off in Atlanta? Like if your jump off is in Atlanta, I mean, you obviously put all the work in from Bloomington. That's not, we all know that. But like at what point do you stop repping one and start repping the other one? Because that's
well, I don't know. I don't really think that's so tough to answer
right.
because I love a lot of places. I love Arizona.
Yeah, okay.
I went to middle school in Virginia, Newport News, Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I went to kindergarten there. I went to Bloomington High School. I've lived in Atlanta for 8 years now.
Mm-hmm.
And so like and all those places rubbed off on me. And I don't know, it was weird because even going to the Bloomington show, like um it was funny and because one day my neighbor was on our old porch and I was driving by her and I waved at her and she didn't recognize me, wave back, nothing. And I was mad at first. And then I remembered, I was like, I didn't even have a fucking car when I was her neighbor.
Like, why would she know? Yeah. Okay.
And I was like, that was the old me she knows. She doesn't, I shouldn't expect her
Right.
to know the new me. If I stopped and hopped out, she'd be like, oh my gosh. Like, because me and her were like this. That's part of why I'm like, motherfucker. Like, you know what I mean? But so, so yeah, like, it's tough because it's like, whoa, I'm not. We're talking about Bloomington. It's like when Allen Iverson talking about. We're talking about practice. We talking about practice. We in the NBA and we talking about.
Right.
You know, but
Right. Fair.
but I
Very,
it's such a conflicting thing because I love where I'm from and I obviously still go back. I still work with the artists from there. I still do everything I can. It's a very like snooty, but like I don't know. It's a very bipolar experience because they some fucking haters.
right. Well,
They are lovers and haters. They tried to cancel me yesterday.
yeah, ain't that? I
It'll
listen.
look, Bloomington canceling me is hilarious.
Mhm.
It's like, yo, I mean, I don't, and this is a whole other thing. Like, power is crazy because literally, I shouldn't think like, bro, they're if they cancel me in Bloomington, I have so many supporters all over that like whatever. What this small crop of people saying whatever like part of I say that because their complaint isn't true.
Right.
But like it makes me think too, like these people really be like if somebody complains about them, that they're too big
Mm-hmm.
for anybody to care. And that's a really diabolical perspective to have.
Yeah. Well, it's a dangerous space to be in.
It makes you think you can do anything.
It's not good. But yeah. I mean, you're talking to like somebody who's graced the presence of some, some small town spaces that people that we can go back. I'm not going to open up all that on here, but like, it's. I have a friend. He said some smart shit one day, and he said, "I'm just going to create a black book that I won't need to know those numbers anymore." And I'm like, yeah, totally.
Yeah, because you should never be above being held accountable for how you act. But like,
if people try to out, man, and tear you up, like what? Nah, come on.
Well, especially, I'm like, bro, I work so hard for people to try to be negative. I work so hard for people to try to hate on me. It's ultimately what I think. And like, ultimately, the good I do will outweigh any stupidity. You know what I'm saying? So, but I appreciate you. Let's bring it to a head here.
Get out of here. No, yeah. No, everybody, if you haven't already, go out and check all the links that we've thrown up in the comment description section. It's Daz Exotic on pretty much everything. The YouTube is popping. I mean, the late night tip is, I mean, if you ain't got nothing else to do, you can play that pretty much anywhere. Anyways, it's nice. And I mean, he's got more probably, yeah, I mean, there is shows to watch. So if you want to go down the rabbit hole that is Daz Exotic, please go ahead.
A case of the Mondays, which we'll be doing again soon. Me and Kaleisha got our mental health. Every Monday we like to kick off people's week the right way. We pick subjects and we dig into them and our experiences with them.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of people don't know that. So yeah, Daz and I actually do go live on Mondays, and it's kind of a refreshing space because I get to be somebody that I'm not on here, and not that I keep it like, not that we're cheesy or whatever, but it is definitely a breezy space. So that's super nice. If you guys haven't already, go and subscribe to Let's Vibe TV. And I'm gonna go and shoosh this baby down in some fresh air.
He's being amazing though, for the most part. You're like, I know I'm just doing a really good job of keeping him calm.
No, you're just
what a cutie is that? We got Dax in the building and not the rapper.
Absolutely. But yeah, my darling, take it easy and we'll chat soon. We'll make sure everyone knows what's going on. I'm going to step outside. Is it hot down there? Like, what are you guys sitting at for temperature right now? Because we're at like plus 36 Celsius. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit, but it's hotter than.
It's hot every day out here.
Like, that ain't blush.
We sweating.
Sweating. Yeah, totally.
It's hot. All right,
darling. Thank you so much, everybody. Stay safe, and we'll see you next Tuesday.
Peace.